welcome to Scholars T10 program. In this program, we will be covering top 5 current affairs articles in 10 minutes at 10 o'clock. These current affairs articles are from various sources like The Hindu, Indian Express, PIB, LiveMint, etc. Log on to scholar.in or download Scholars app for daily current affairs, quiz, test series, notes, videos, and much more. It is a one-stop destination for all your civil service exam preparation. So let's start our today's program with first article about air quality management. Recently, the President of India signed the Commission for Air Quality Management in National Capital Region and Adjoining Area Ordinance 2020. By this ordinance, a new Commission for Air Quality Management in Delhi and adjoining areas will be created. And this commission is required because the monitoring and management of air quality has been done in piecemeal approach by multiple bodies including the Central Pollution Control Board, State Pollution Control Boards and state governments of Delhi, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan, and also the Environmental Protection and Control Authority. These in turn are monitored, all these bodies in turn are monitored by the Union Ministry of Environment and also by the Supreme Court. So this commission is set up to create and consolidate all the monitoring bodies and bring them under one platform for comprehensive, efficient and time-bound management of air pollution in Delhi. Let's understand about the composition of this commission. This commission will be a permanent body and will have over 20 members. It will be headed by the retired officials of level of secretary by the Government of India or Chief Secretary of the state. And the representatives of the rank of secretary in the Ministry of Environment will be the ex officio member. It will also include representatives from the non-government organization and representatives from various ministries like Ministry of Agriculture, Petroleum, Power, Road Transport and Highways, Housing and Urban Affairs and Commerce Ministry. These representatives are important because Delhi is prone to stubble burning and also to control industrial emissions and vehicular emissions. These ministries are important. Let's understand about the functioning of this commission. With regard to air pollution and air quality management, the commission will supersede all the existing body, including the state governments. It has power to issue direction to the state governments also. It has power to restrict the setting up of industries in vulnerable areas and also can conduct site inspection of industrial units. The commission has power to levy fine up to 1 crore and imprisonment up to 5 years if its direction are not followed. Now let's move on to our next article. It's about ASER report. The annual survey of education report, that is ASER report, is released every year by the Pratham Foundation. It's a non-governmental organization working in the field of education. This foundation conducts national-wise survey of rural education and outcomes, specifically in terms of reading and arithmetic skill. And this survey is very important because it is very authenticate and it is more India-centric or India-focused. Now let's understand the finding of the report. It tells that about 5.3% of the rural children aged between 6 to 10 years has not yet enrolled in the school. This is higher compared to 1.8% in 2018. Although the overall enrollment levels are higher compared to 2018, but the enrollment pattern was more towards the government school rather than private schools this year. Usually in the previous year there was more, the number of enrollments were increasing in private school, but the trend has been changing since this year. On the other hand, the household access to smartphone has increased to 62% from 36% in 2018. So, and about 11% of the household bought smartphone after the lockdown. This is important because of this pandemic, the education has moved to online. So, access to smartphone is important in this regard. And about 66% of the students all over India did not receive any learning materials or activities from the schools in this year. So, the many children did their learning activities by their own with or without regular input. And with regard to studies, the parents' level of education also played a major role, because if parents are educated, they will provide them with more materials, or they will spend their time with the children for their educational purpose. When the education level is low, they tend to not to spend more time with their children with regard to education, or don't spend more on education materials. And about 20% of the rural students don't have textbook at their home due to COVID-19 issue, and about 80% of the families provided with the learning support to the children, either it is from the parents or elder siblings. So the reports recommends that the school has to find a way to build home support going forward, because in rural areas it is difficult for them for the access to tuition or affordable to the tuition. So school has to find a way for the home support education. Now let's move on to our next article. It's about state of India's economy. According to IMF, that is International Monetary Fund, about $11 trillion of output around the world would be lost in 2021 due to pandemic, and it will be about 28 trillion over the next 5 years. 5 years. It also tells that the GDP of developed market will be of 3.5% below the pre-pandemic level, and for emerging market it will be 5.5% of the GDP. It means that the pandemic has caused more loss to the emerging market than the developed market. So let's understand about the Indian economy. So India reported 23% contraction in output in the April to June quarter. This is mostly because of the lockdown during that period. But now the economy has been rebounding, particularly in the goods and industry sector. It is seen because the e-way reached its pre-pandemic levels, and also the the GST collection has reached to its pre-pandemic level in the September. But the infection rate in India is also continuing to get lower, and this will have a positive effect on the economy as households begin to normalize their activity. In another one surprising event, the current account surplus of India has saw about 1.5% of the GDP. This is mainly because savings investment of the private sector, household and corporate is being higher than the saving investment deficit of the government in the public sector. So, and there has also been higher capital inflows in form of investment, and so the actual surplus is about 3.5% of the GDP that is available for the economy. But the higher current account surplus also implies that aggregate demand is very weak, because the higher current account surplus in Indian scenario is mainly because of the reduction in the imports. When the reduction in the import, there is a reduction in the imports, it shows that there is a weak aggregate demand. So to push the economy, we need to increase the aggregate demand. So this can be done by investment in the infrastructure sector, because it will have the largest spillover effect on the economy. And to compensate for the huge infrastructure deficit, and to position India in the global value chain for export driven growth, infrastructure connecting the hinterlands to the port is also necessary. And health infrastructure also need a big boost in terms of investment, especially in the public health facilities and doctors. Now let's move on to our next article. It's about employment and entrepreneurship. India needs to create about 100 million jobs by 2030 to meet the 21st century challenge of ensuring livelihood opportunity to the youth, and also to exploit the demographic dividend because of the growing Indian population. But there are some challenges for that. They are like the empirical evidence shows that jobs are created by small and young firms and not by established or big firms. But the pace of increase of small and young firms are not enough to absorb the 10 million workers joining the labor force every year. So, to create 100 million additional jobs, we need to promote the entrepreneurship in India. So, what are the factors to promote the entrepreneurship in India? The most important factor is investment in human capital and physical infrastructure. So cities with improved physical and human infrastructure have provided supportive industrial structure for input and both output markets, and it is also in both globally and locally, and it can translate into the higher job creation. But India ranks low in most of the global ranking of physical infrastructure. So this makes it difficult for India to replace China as the manufacturing hub for the world. India also ranks low in the global ranking for human infrastructure with a poor rating on education, skill, life expectancy, and health. With regard to education, just now we recently saw in the ESSER report, the pace of job creation cannot be scaled up without increased investment in education sector. So we need more investment in education sector for overall economic development. Job creation and entrepreneurship are also being constrained due to distorted in the factors in market like labor, land, and capital. And these constraints have made new firms of startup to get access to these factors like they are deprived of capital or they are deprived of land. So, and there are some recommendations to come over this issue. A smart job strategy goes hand in hand with the smart urbanization strategy. But in India, the urbanization slow has been very slow. And to accommodate the transition of manufacturing from mega cities to mid-sized cities, fast urbanization growth is also required. But in India, you see, we have like some 10 mega cities. But what exactly needed is like we need hundreds of mid cities that can benefit from the urbanization strategy that shifts its focus from tier 1 to tier 2 cities and also promote urban competition and collaboration. This can be done by investment in physical infrastructure, and the investment in physical infrastructure can be increased by utilizing the National Investment and Infrastructure Fund with the global investor has there is a saving glut in the developed countries. Those savings from the developed countries can be bought in India through NIIF, and that can be invested in the physical infrastructure. And the learning outcomes in the education sector can be increased by promoting and forming partnership with the leading global education and health institution, like letting the big global universities to open up their campuses in India. Now, the last article of the day, it's about SURF-Power. The Science and Engineering Research Board has launched a program titled SURF-Power. It means providing opportunities for women in exploratory research. This program is designed exclusively for women scientists to mitigate gender disparity in science and engineering research in various S&T programs in India. In India and also in various countries, including developed countries, there has been skewed, gender ratio with regard to research and development. So there has been more males than females in most countries. So to fill this gap, the Science and Engineering Research Board has come up with this new scheme. It has got two components. One is SURF-Power Fellowship. It is for women researchers between the age of 35 to 55 years. Here, the researchers will be provided the grants and also regular income. And there is another component. It's about SURF-Power Research Grants. It has got two levels. It is in first level. It is for IITs, IISERs, IISCs, NITs, central universities, and National Lab for central government institutes. Here, the funds will be provided for research for women researchers. In level 2, the applications will be accepted from state governments, colleges, and private academic institutions. Thank you, friends. Proceed with another top 5 articles based on MCQs in 10 minutes at 10 o'clock. Good night.